Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Finally.
The Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Who's come back? Give me a hell yeah.
Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and as always, I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, tag team partner and good friend, Mr. Adam Cousins. Adam, how are you, my friend? Are you like me? I haven't slept in nearly 24 hours. WrestleMania has killed me. A full day at work, but how are you, mate?
Yeah, just as tired as you. And obviously, you kind of thought WrestleMania was big, and then we get this announcement today about the WWE being sold.
Yeah, we are going to get into that. But Matt, we have some great guests joining us today, my friend. What a time to review WrestleMania. Former WWE wrestler, current dart player, and good friend of this pod. We can say that now, right? Adam, who have we got on the podcast?
Yeah, you said that we had a returning guest that we loved on, and I wondered what Matt Edgar was doing it.
But anyway, sorry, we couldn't get Melina.
No, look, we had Matt on a couple of weeks ago. We loved the fact that he was a wrestling fan. He had a great passion, a great creative mind. So we thought we'd bring Matt back on. Matt, good evening.
And I'm cheap as well, so it all works out perfect, don't it? So
yeah, brilliant.
I can be a co-host of this as well now, can't I? This is like the second time I've been on in a week.
So you're part of the family now, Matt. You guys. You're part of the family now.
And then our WrestleMania guest. So you're a bit below that, Matt. WrestleMania guest. Obviously, last week we had the lovely Melina Perez on. She was an absolute sweetheart. Today we're joined by somebody who has been to WrestleMania, part of the WWE, been a part of one of the amazing tag teams, or trios, shall we say, in the Wyatt family with the late great Brody Lee, and probably one of the most creative minds in the business in Bray Wyatt. I probably shouldn't say this, but he's probably got the record for losing the quickest match at WrestleMania when he went one-on-one with a great one a couple of years ago. He has since appeared on AEW television, and we can't wait to speak to him. Good afternoon, I think, to our guest, Mr. Eric Rowan / Redbeard.
Good afternoon, and I think it's evening out there for you guys, so good evening to you.
It is indeed. Eric, we got to kick this off. WrestleMania, 2 nights, seemed to blow everyone out of the water. What did you make? Someone that's competed in WrestleMania, which we will get to momentarily. What did you make of the 2 nights that we have just witnessed? Some people are calling this the greatest WrestleMania of all time. What did you make of what you've seen over the past weekend?
I didn't see much. I'm not gonna lie. I was wrestling in Canada during Mania week, and then my last show was Saturday night during Mania, so I missed all of the first night. And the only match I had interest in watching was Sheamus, Gunther, and Drew. So I watched Brock and Omos, and I saw the next match, which was that amazing triple threat match with a great story and even better brutality, which is what I love in wrestling. So obviously I was chomping at the bit to see what those guys came up with and they did not disappoint. And I think the crowd appreciates a good beating.
It was an absolute. We spoke. I know Adam. We spoke on our last show that this is one of the matches we were looking forward to.
Yeah.
They didn't fail to deliver. I thought it was an incredible. It was brutal. I couldn't take one of them chops. No less. I think Sheamus got up to 29, something like that. It was absolutely brutal. I thought it was one of the best WrestleMania matches ever. But Eric, just tell us briefly. What's it like in the build-up to WrestleMania? What's it like competing in WrestleMania? I mean, we said on our show, we had Melina Perez on last week, and we said it just looks crazy. And that's only what we see on TV. What was it like for you personally in the week up to Mania, the build-up? You were with one of the most creative minds in the WWE. You got to have a match, quote unquote, with The Rock. I mean, how was it for you personally, Mania week, as a WWE superstar?
I mean, everything's hectic and churned up. I mean, you think TVs and the stories you heard of TVs all being last minute. I mean, you got Mania coming. A lot of stuff is planned out, but like a lot of that stuff happens last minute. I mean, I didn't know about the match with The Rock until like 2 days before. So it's just stuff like that. That's like, it's different and heightened because I think the crowd is crazy hot for everything to begin with. You sell up to WrestleMania before you even announce a match because it's not the matches, it's the environment and the talent. We feed off of the energy of the crowd. So like for people to have those moments and experience those things is great. And those that don't make the show, I mean, it's a kick in their butts and it makes them want to, break out the next year and try harder and do whatever they can to make it to that biggest spectacle. So it's, it's a hectic, crazy week filled with emotions of highs and, for some talent, really bad lows.
What was it, last one before I hand over to Adam, what was it like? Obviously you said you found out about the match with The Rock a couple of days before it. What was your reaction? And obviously it was a short segment, but it was a great segment. No one's seen it coming, let's not have a WrestleMania moment. Let's have a WrestleMania match. Boom. Off come his pants. And next thing you know, rock bottom, 1, 2, 3. But for you personally, what was it like when you got told that you were going to have that segment with The Rock?
I mean, to me, it's better than doing the Andre the Giant, the Memorial Battle Royale.
I'm glad you said that.
But obviously, as like a man that's proud of everything that I try to do. I try to put pride in stuff I do. I want to have a match. I want to put on some time. I want to do some things. So not being able to, it's a letdown. But like you're asked to do a certain thing, it's what you do. And that's what the segment wanted. They want it for the segment. They want it to have that record at, that place with that many people for that match. And, that's what you do. I always joke, if you go back and watch the tape, I took a rock bottom and an attitude adjustment, but who's the one helping Bray to the back after he takes the rock bottom? So I still sold all the moves. So, they still hurt, but I still got up.
It was a great segment. It was a great segment. So go on, Adam.
No, I was just going to say, we sort of segue, but obviously, what is like the differences between you started on NXT with the Wyatt family, you was tag team with Brody and Wyatt and Bray on that. The differences between sort of NXT and WWE at that point, did you notice a difference when you went up to the main roster, or was it just we're kind of carrying on with what we're doing just on Raw or SmackDown?
I think the Wyatt family, we weren't the same Wyatt family we were in NXT that we were on the main roster.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of that had to do with just the way things changed with the vignettes and like the aesthetics of the three of us, and like it changed slightly from what it was, because I think NXT was truly a developmental in the fact that we were still trying to figure out what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And just little things like if you look at my attire, it was all thrown together in NXT because one day they're like, oh, we want you with the Wyatt family for, you'll be the second son. Oh, what am I going to wear? Oh, I have this coverall farm suit. Okay, I'll cut the sleeves off. And it kept ripping on me. And then I had to find a different one to wear. And then it eventually turned into the green jumpsuit, which I had on the main roster. So like just the aesthetics or, even the mask, you didn't see that till the vignette. Yeah. So like, and those were things that were just sitting in my trunk. And like you said, developmental. It's like trying stuff until you have a finished product, and then it evolves from there. So that's kind of the difference between the two there. And then it's just a matter of like evolving, like who you're feuding with, who your storylines with, how the three of us work together. Each three of us are completely different people, and having to feed off of each other. One's the silent killer, one's the deranged psychopath, and one's the guy who speaks all the rhymes and has reasons for doing things that we're doing.
Yeah, Matt, what was your impression when you first saw the Wyatt family? As we know, you're a huge WWE fan and a historical wrestling fan. When you saw the Wyatt family burst on the scene, what was your first impressions? I thought it was incredible. From the NXT to the when they got called up to the main roster, and I personally think that WWE could have done so much more with that faction. I mean, what did you think when you first saw the Wyatt family?
Well, exactly. And it doesn't surprise me the style of wrestling that you like as well, in terms of what you enjoyed from WrestleMania on the base of what we saw with the Wyatt family. But it kind of brings me to a little bit of a question as well, in the fact of, was there anything that wasn't completed? Because you mentioned there about like the evolution and the evolving of the Wyatt family to a finished product. Was there anything that potentially we could have seen, or you was hoping to see, that never quite made it to broadcast? I know my own personal experience when I played at the World Championships the last time. I had a Hulk Hogan inspired shirt, and I wanted to do the whole Hulk Hogan Real American Walk On, but they said you can wear the shirt, you're not getting the music. So I kind of had it watered down and missed a few bits. Was there anything that you sort of hoped would get to TV, but just never kind of got past, that would have been quite cool?
So we would do things where we would kidnap people. Like, we would take Kane and like, what did we do with them? We wanted to show, like, have these like weird like VHSs release, like, with the things, and it would tell more of a story of who my character was and who John Harper's character was, as far as like, I'm the silent guy who's like trying to be nice and feed Kane, and he's the guy like, put the food away. We're like, what's wrong with you? Like, I wanted to show that dynamic. They wanted to show the dynamic, but they're like, oh, we can't show you actually like what you do when you kidnap the guy. So it's stuff like that, because like it's character development. Yeah. And I wish we would have had more. We weren't just the background guys. I wish we told more about who we were, as far as like, why are we with him, and then how do we interact with each other, in a non-funny way. People might smile at it, but at the end of the day, it's still creepy. I mean, you watch, Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he's got the older brother, who basically tells him to stop dressing up and wearing people's skin. And there's a camaraderie between those two, and you learn a little bit about it in movies. So it's in wrestling, it'd be nice to have that veil kind of taken off sometimes. And that's one thing I wish they would have told her earlier on, because I think it took a while for people to start to kind of understand who we were.
What was the creative, we hear it all the time now, the creative mind of Bray Wyatt? What was it like for you, like, coming up with some of these segments we've seen recently? Obviously he's not in WWE TV at the minute, but Triple H gave an interview for BT Sport over here, and before Bray come back into the fold at WWE, he was asked what is one of the assets that he brings to the table. He said his creative mind literally never stops. Did you get that impression that he's literally creative all the times? And like you say, there were so many more things you possibly could have done with the Wyatt family. What was it like sitting with Bray as the character and as the person that when he was coming up with all these creative ideas?
No, I think a common misconception is that only certain guys are creative. Like, when Wyndham's creative, he has totally in mind of what his character is, where it wants to go. But I think there's so many guys up there that have that creative mind about what they want for their character, and all these pitches and ideas that they give out, and not all of them are going to be listened to. And the same with Wyndham. Like, he'll have all these ideas, and they might take a part of that idea and put it onto a plate and say, okay, you're going to digest what this is to the audience. And he's like, oh, no, it has to be the whole thing. You're a chef, and like, they won't understand it if you just give them the chicken. Like, we need to saute the chicken and do this and that. So like, I think it's nice that he gets, props from Hunter and all that for his creative mind, but I don't think, along with a lot of other talent that's up there, I don't think their full pictures of their own creativity is being done, in the correct form at all times. And, that causes probably friction within the office and the talent. And I don't think Wyndham's immune from that. I'm sure he gets frustrated. Because I know when we were all down there together, we all got frustrated. Like I said, we were trying to pitch stuff where we would be more than the background guys, and here's why. And the creativity with that and trying to work together as a cohesive unit kind of sucks sometimes when you're only given so much to show. And I know it's kind of a long-ended, weird answer, but obviously great to work with them and like have the mind there, but like you got to remember, we all had different ideas of what we wanted. And when you have three personalities trying to pitch different things, and you're going to have hurt feelings and things along the road, but you're all going to get along because you have business to do. And I think it's kind of telling right now, just like, well, what's going on with him now? And it's like the same thing. Is he presenting what he wants to present? Is he not? Like, I don't know.
Do you think that WWE dropped the ball with the Wyatt family? Because like I said a second ago, I think they could have done a lot more. Like Adam said, like creative wise, it could have gone so far. And a lot of fans I've spoke to, like we mentioned that you were coming on, they were like, oh man, I wish they had done more with the Wyatt family. It was good, and then Bray obviously ended up with the title, and they kind of again dropped the ball. And different scenarios play out, different people's careers going different paths. Do you think though that WWE did drop the ball a little bit with the Wyatt family? Because you've only got to look at things like the bloodline now and long-term story that me and Adam mention all the time. In your opinion, could WWE have got more out of you three? And maybe if they had listened to, I'm not saying they can take every idea and do it, but do you think WWE dropped the ball slightly with you guys?
I mean, you can say in hindsight slightly, like, yeah, but like that's all hindsight, happenstance kind of bull crap. Like to me, it was a great ride. Like it was fun. It taught me a lot on not only the wrestling side, but the creative side of just anything, which is kind of like why I like getting into the acting now, because it's a good creative outlet where I don't got to rely on, like the wrestling bosses telling me what's good for the character, as far as, having conversations about what is best and what's your vision of the character.
No, definitely.
But yeah, you can say anything, like about like, oh, they dropped the ball. And it's like, did they really drop the ball though? Because there's lots of memorable moments within that faction, and people are going to remember it for a long time. So I think it did its job.
Yeah, no, it was one of my favorite factions. I
think one of the best. We're talking about memories of the Wyatt family, and I've never remember. Well, one of the things I remember the most was the Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson bit where they're in the cage. And he, and he takes that mark, and it's them bits like that. But just touching on hindsight, Eric, we mentioned that it's easy thing to say in hindsight. But do you think perhaps in terms of the vignettes that you wanted to air on the VHS, would that have maybe made it to TV and say like when WWE was doing its Attitude Era, when there wasn't maybe sort of sponsors that may have caused a little bit of issue with at the time, where it didn't really matter back in the Attitude Era days?
I get confused about the sponsorships because sponsors sponsor Walking Dead, sponsors sponsor Sons of Anarchy. It's a television show. We're not really kidnapping these people. We're portraying the fact to the audience for a second that maybe they may believe we kidnapped these people. Hey, please call the cops. Like it's a TV show. If I'm watching a soap opera, say The Young and the Restless with my wife, I'm not like, oh my gosh, this character kidnapped this guy. I better call the police.
Yeah, no,
so call the police. I have visions of Titus O'Neil yesterday on the commentary.
I don't think sponsors care about that stuff too much. And if you go back to the Attitude Era, I think it would probably end up being a comedic segment.
See, we say that about the soap operas and things, but I spoke to somebody who's involved with the production of Coronation Street, which is like a soap opera here in the UK. And they said things like when they get a character go into hospital, they get a load of get well soon cards sent to in the name of that character that's on the show. So I think some people do get into it to that sort of level.
Yeah, I have a feel like sometimes I think wrestling fans sometimes get into it a little bit too much as far as blurring the signs of reality. And no, this guy's just like a dad, or this is mom. You know, they got kids at home and they have their home thing they do when they have their couple days off, a week or a month.
Eric, what's been the biggest change in wrestling since you got in the business till today? What would you say has been the biggest change in the industry? I mean, we're going to touch on the WWE being bought out by Endeavor today. Obviously, that's huge news. But from when you got in the business, when you started out getting into the professional wrestling game to where it is today, what have you seen? Some for the good and some for the bad have been the main changes in wrestling.
For the bad, I think it's too easy for people to get into the business and too easy for people to maybe get on television.
Okay.
And as far as the good, I think, people are getting paid better. I think people are being treated better. And like if you're got a kid on the way, oh yeah, no, go home. Like, if you're sick, oh yeah, take a couple days off. Like you'll be okay. Like that's better that way. Like you're not working yourself like 300 dates a year, 200 dates a year. Where you're away from your family. Like I think they're better at like being more family oriented, knowing people have families and need to be home and have a little bit of rest.
Yeah. What did you, boys? We'll start with you. What did you make today? Huge news. WWE. I never thought I'd see this day. It's been sold to Endeavor. I mean, I don't think it's going to affect the fans as much as people are saying on social media today. Oh, WWE's been sold. It's all this is going. Not a lot's going to change. I don't think for the fans. I think if anything, it will be for the better. What did you think when you heard the news today that obviously you've worked for the company, that Vince McMahon has sold a large proportion of WWE has been taken over by Endeavor, who obviously run the UFC as well. Was that a shock to you when you heard that news today?
Nothing's a shock to me. Nothing. Wrestling. Like what is it really gonna change?
That's what I said.
Is Vince still the main executive there? Yes. Like, is Hunter still gonna have a job there? Yes. So what is it gonna change? Is Endeavor gonna call up different talent that they like that doesn't work there and say, hey, we want you? No. Like it's still gonna be a business and it's still gonna be run the way it's run, and it's not gonna change anything for the talent there, I wouldn't think. Who knows? Like maybe it'll be good financially for people, or maybe it will be worse. I don't know, because unless you're there and you're being affected with whether it's a contract or whatnot, you don't know. I don't know how it's going to affect the way contracts are written out. Like that's about the only thing in my head is how does it affect the people's bottom line, like the work that make it run.
Matt, what did you think of the sell today? Like Eric said, I don't think it's personally, like you said, Vince is still apparently going to be in charge of creative. Hunter's still going to be there. I don't think it changed a whole lot. Shareholders, yes, and but as wrestling fans, I'm not gonna lie, I don't care about shareholders or how much money some guy in an office is making. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm invested in storytelling and what they're doing on Raw and SmackDown and in NXT.
In the arena stuff, basically.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it changes much today? I think it does behind the scenes, but us as wrestling fans, I'm with Eric. I don't think it changes too much.
No, I can't see anything really changing, to be honest. But there is one thing that I think could potentially come off the back of this, and we spoke about this very briefly. We came on. I think there's kind of a perfect fit from the UFC in terms of a crossover to the WWE, and certainly in terms of the mic skills and everything he bring. That I think we could see Conor McGregor.
Oh, WrestleMania, Conor McGregor versus.
God, I think when we look at what Ronda Rousey did in that sort of crossover. We saw Ken Shamrock do that crossover before. It has been done before and successful, but no one with the charisma of Conor McGregor. And it just wouldn't surprise me if there was that sort of link somewhere. And didn't you say there's like a mystery partner or something? I think tonight's probably a bit too soon,
tonight
but
on Raw.
it just wouldn't surprise me if we see this crossover.
Yeah, no. Ads, what did you make of the sell today, mate? Obviously, like I said, I didn't think I'd ever see Vince give any of this company up. And like Eric says, nothing surprises you in wrestling. You know what I mean? Nothing. Literally, we've all heard the news and what's been going on with Vince over the past few months. And, that all seems to be swept under the carpet. He's come back, sold his big share in WWE, and we move on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the time. Well, I say the timing, but the I watched the CNBC interview today, and he did kind of let it slip. There was a recorded CNBC interview because he mentioned that WrestleMania was tomorrow, which indicates the sale had already kind of gone through prior to WrestleMania. But I don't think it changed much. I think we may have to watch out for future endeavors, maybe being happening in the next, because obviously I work in my company's acquired 24 businesses in 2 years, so I know that there's a big transition and transitional periods. But in terms of, as long as it doesn't affect the product that we watch every week, we'll see. As long as they keep the guys that they've got there, maybe some office people may have to be careful. But as long as, from my point of view, as long as the action in the ring is good, then it doesn't really change anything for me.
Yeah, no. Eric, just finishing up briefly on your stint in WWE before we segue into like what you're up to now and stuff. What was it like working for a Vince McMahon? We hear stories of him. He's intense. He's hard, but I've also heard a few stories about like the kinder side, like the family man that he is. What was it like for you personally dealing? I'm guessing he had some hands-on roles with the Wyatt family and how he saw it portrayed and how you guys saw it portrayed might have been two different things. What was it like for you personally dealing with Vince McMahon?
No, it was fine. I never had a problem with him. Like he was never too hard on me. Like if he didn't like something, he'd tell you, he'd fix it, then he'd be happy. But I've seen him with other people where he'd say, "Hey, what are you doing? Do this," and they don't do it. Well, that's gonna piss off any boss, and you're gonna feel the wrath. So, as far as that goes, like, the same as any other boss. He just happens to be, in that position and so powerful and always around you. It's not most times you work for a company where the owner of the company was the one, criticizing what you do, or you walking out after a match. Like, when he liked it, he liked it. There was times we came back with matches from the Usos and he was on fire and he's, yes, we love it. Like, so like, that's a win. That's a good day. Because you were happy. If you're happy and then you walk out, you see he's happy, well, then you did your job.
Yeah, no, most definitely. What does AEW bring to the world of wrestling since they burst onto the scene? Obviously, your good friend Brody Lee, obviously done great things in AEW yourself, involved in AEW. What does AEW bring to the wrestling world? Because it's been getting a bit of a bad press recently. I mean, I don't think you could ever have enough wrestling. If it's somewhere for guys to go and work and provide a living for their family, I think it's great. B, wrestling fans get more wrestling. You don't all have to watch WWE or NXT. Back in the day, we had WCW, we had TNA, like what is now Impact Wrestling. What do you think AEW bring to the table, and what was your experiences like?
I mean, they have an alternative to the product you see now. And it's, got different things that aren't on the WWE product and give people an opportunity to see those things. And there's people that go there that you see in a different light than that might have been at other companies, which is funny because I always hear, "Oh, that guy's an ex-WWE guy." It's like, no, the guy's a wrestler who happens to be working for a different company. He's providing that's what he does for a living, period, and that's what he's doing, and he's showing a different side of his talent in a different company. So, to me, it's always good to have different opportunities, and the fans have different opportunities to channel surf and see what they want. And he acquired the ROH, so now people can watch that and see even more different talent. So it's good for, I think, fans, but you want more casuals to watch, and I don't think it's always the best option for casuals, because you want to grow the business. You do. You want people to. I want to be able to, talk about wrestling to somebody on the street, and them not just bring up The Rock, them just not bring up Stone Cold. Like, that's how you know that wrestling's starting to be more mainstream, is when people start recognizing more names on the street and start tuning in. Then you're getting more than a certain set number of viewers. And, there's alternatives, and I just wish more people would tune in to watch, but there's no specific answer on how to get those casuals to watch. That's that'll be something Endeavor's got to figure out.
Just briefly, last one from me. A person that we speak about fondly is Brody Lee. What did that man mean to you? He's come across, obviously we've heard a lot more about him since his passing. Just come across as a great human being, a really good, his AEW run I thought was incredible as well. You know what I mean? What the ceiling was up there for him in AEW. Just speak to us about the person, the human that you knew, and what he brought to the wrestling business.
Obviously his talent you can't even explain. Like, he just had a natural knack for it, and he knew exactly what he was doing and why he was doing it, and I think it portrayed to the crowd and connected to the crowd, and that's why people loved him. And then not to mention the fact, behind the scenes, he's just like, a family man, a jokester. Like, everybody was drawn to him and loved him, and to me, like, we might have had friction when we first started, because we both wanted to be singles wrestlers, and we were constantly married at the hip throughout our run, and until we were split up, and then they wanted us separate for some reason, but didn't want to use him at all. And that frustrated him beyond belief, because that's why he asked for his release in the first place, to prove that he was more than they were using. And it's just sad that the fact that we had to be married at hip for so long, and until we finally looked at each other. I think it was right before the Bludgeon Brother run, and because we had worked a series of just singles matches with each other, and we're like, why do we keep butting heads? This is what they want. Let's work together and make it the best thing we can. It formed like a great friendship and respect for one another. And I think once we started having that more respect for what we did and what we brought to each other and brought out in each other, I think that's kind of the start of like our kind of our friendship and like family, and we were genuinely happy for each other and everything we did. Because we would text, when he came out with AEW, or when I was doing stuff with Roman before he came back, like, we generally had love for each other. So it just sucks, and life's short. I'm glad he got in a small moment of time to be able to show what he was capable in the ring, at least a small little fraction, and that people, I saw the thing where Cody handed little Brody the belt, which it's beautiful to see that, and him to still be talked about in some sense in both companies, just the wrestling community, and how everybody is there for Amanda and the kids, and but yeah, it sucks, man. Like, yeah, it's never fun, and it's like whenever I do wrestle, he's always there with me. I always hear him laughing and joking with me, screwing with me somehow. But
what was the best rib he ever played on you?
The best rib he ever played?
Yeah, I can imagine you guys all together. I bet there was some ribs.
So he really enjoyed screwing with me ringside during tag matches, especially when I had the mask and I set it up. Like on live events, I would set it up on the apron, like hanging up over the ring post in our corner. and he would knock that thing down all the time. And he knew I'd be in character, so I'd drop down like, oh no, like deep down, I'm just like mad because he'd like do something. He'd see I do that, and he'd be like, "Oh, tag me! What are you doing? Tag!" Just call me out. I'm like, or like the like we'd be we'd bail out the ring, and people would be in the ring doing their entrances, and he'd just be like popping me in the chest, like, and then like doing like shuffles around the ring, and then he'd like pop me again. But if I popped him once, oh, come on, man, what are you doing?
Oh, fantastic. So go on, mate.
You actually touched upon a good thing there, Eric. I was thinking about, which is, you already mentioned that you guys wanted to be singles, and it kind of got me thinking about sort of tag team wrestling is, for me, a forgotten art. Like if you go back to the 80s and the 90s, you had like the Powers of Pain, Legion of Doom, Demolition, Fantastics, Midnight Rock and Roll Express, but it just feels like, I mean, not so much in AEW. I think AEW have a solid tag division of tag teams, people that have been tag teaming for years. I mean, you had Dante and Darius Martin, for example. They're maybe a bit younger, but they've been tag teaming because they're brothers. Obviously, we had the Hardy Boys. You got the Usos. But do you think like tag team wrestling itself is kind of like a forgotten art nowadays, especially within the WWE more so than maybe AEW or Ring of Honor?
I mean, a little bit. I don't think it's given the chance to really flourish. I saw that the main event was a tag team match. That had a good story, so that was nice to see. I'll have to go back and watch that with the Usos.
Oh yeah, that was great
match.
Sammy and Kevin. But like, because like if you have a tag team match with a great story, it's gonna steal the show. Like, no doubt about it. Like, because there's so much going on during a tag match for the fans to digest, and it is an art because you need the fans at home to be able to watch, or the fans in the audience to be able to see all these things going on at once. So you need something to happen here. Oh, then this happens here. But you need people's attention to go different places, and you need to all 4 or 5 with the ref all work together. And that is an art. And, like, yeah, you have a lot of guys that are thrown together. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's interesting. I remember we got thrown with Daniel Bryan, and we won the belts. And for what it was, I thought it was interesting enough where it kind of worked, and we were different enough, but we tried to tell some sort of reason why we were together. And then, like, I saw that Braun's now with Ricochet. So I think I try to figure out why they're together, because I wish they'd be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that was more to do with Braun tweeted about something about gymnastic wrestling or something like that, and they kind of had a little bit of a go to and fro about it, and then the WWE decided to put them together and make a little and large.
So was that a story that was told on television?
Yeah, I think it was when they were feuding. Yeah, when they were feuding, it was. Yeah, because I say Braun tweeted it out about. I can't remember it was about little people and doing all the flips and stuff like that. I think it was because he had a match with Omos, Saudi Arabia, and then he tweeted out something about, it's not just the smaller guys that can do these great matches and put on these great matches and not do so many flips. And then Ricochet, I think, responded to that, and then they had a little feud which was mentioned on air, and then they got put together.
You just started on social media now.
That was what I was going to say about your question.
I'm just laughing. I'm shaking my head right now because I'm thinking about Brock tweeting about flippy floppers.
That was kind of what it was about. Yeah, that was kind of what it was about, wasn't it? Yeah. But go on, Matt. You said you had a question.
Go on, Matt, mate.
Yeah, when you was mentioning about tag teams and a bit of a dying art, but I mean, you'll probably know better than me. How many people actually set out to be a tag team wrestler now? It seems like it is those sort of situations, like you say, where we're getting teams mashed together or just made together, and there's not many people that actually come through, like, certainly in terms of NXT or where they set off to be a tag team. It seems to be 2 singles guys, and they're just sort of chuck a 3 or a 4 together, and something will come off the back of it. Is there many sort of people in training centers at the moment that want to be tag teams?
Stumped him, Matt.
You've stumped him.
I don't know if I have the answer to that one.
Yeah, I just can't think of too many. I mean, certainly when you look even further down to the independents, you can tell the ones because they've got completely contrasting kits and they don't match. They're just two sort of singles guys put together, and that seems to be sort of what it is now. That's why you probably can name people like the Hardy Boys or the Usos or the teams that you've mentioned already, because they stand out because they actually set off with the ambition to be a tag team.
Well, it's like you look at Kofi, Ettore, and Woods. Each one of them wants to be a single star. They've all proven they can be single stars, but they work great as a team because they set out to say, "Hey, we need to make this work," and they make it work.
I think they're like the longest reigning tag team in history at the minute with how long they've been going. In terms, I know there was talks about splitting them up. I mean, they kept trying to do it so many times in the past, but I think they're great singly, but they're also great together.
That's and it hasn't stopped them having their individual moments, has it?
No, no, it hasn't.
At WrestleMania, Woods had the King of the Ring.
Yeah, and obviously Big
E. If you think back to it, a lot of these, if you look at the great like tag teams, all of them were great singles workers. All of them.
Shawn Michaels with the Rockers, you know what I mean? That's where it all started. You know, they do go on to do bigger and better things. Well, yeah, go on, Nat. Sorry, mate. Go on,
so we had a viewer question. Sorry, I remember a good friend of mine, Dave Robertson, asked. Obviously, you've done both WWE, AEW. AEW brung out the Trios Championships. Do you think that's something that could have worked in the WWE, have done right, or do you think because of the way the tag team wrestling is, it probably wouldn't have made it as successful as what AEW have done with the Trios?
I think WWE has to like continue using the tag team, title as something more, you know what I mean? And have those titles mean more. Keep going with what you got before they start releasing more titles.
Are you a fan of like long reigns as champions? We were talking off air, me and Andy, and we were saying that what we've liked at the minute is there hasn't been many title changes across the board at the moment, and it actually makes that title mean more because it doesn't keep changing hands every 5 minutes.
I like it, but I do hope that like at the pay-per-views there's a challenger every pay-per-view for the title.
Yeah,
and I heard there was, because I know Braun and Ricochet were part of this big four-way. I haven't seen it yet. But I wish like that would have, like the winner has an opportunity at the next pay-per-view to face the winner.
I think they mentioned that could happen. Yeah, they did mention that could happen.
But like there needs to be some sort of stakes, and then they need to have like a tag title tournaments for a number one contender, just like they do for the Intercontinental or the US title. Like, and this goes on the other side too, like the other companies as well. Like you need stories to tell. So I don't know.
What do you think of the Roman Reigns run? It's been unprecedented since the Hogans, Bruno Sammartino days. Everyone thought Cody was winning last night. Well, apart from maybe us on here, we said that Roman.
I said as well. If you someone on here back from a few weeks ago, I said
some of us on here said Roman were going to keep the title. But what did you make? Well, what do you make of this? It's historical, and we're part of wrestling history right now. Do you think it's gone on too long, or like Roman said in his interview in the press pack after the Mania, he said, "Get someone to come and take this off me." Clearly WWE don't think that Cody is the guy right now. I mean, I know myself and Adam are praying that something happens at Money in the Bank in London because we're going to be there. But what do you make of this historic run by Roman Reigns? Because a lot of the modern wrestling fans, shall we say, they've never seen anything like this at all. I had all of my friends messaging me this morning going, I can't believe Roman's still got the title and I've had enough of this now. And I'm like, nah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, what do you make of it as a professional wrestler? What would the boys in the back be making? Because everyone, let's not lie, everyone wants to be in Roman's spot, but not everyone can do that. What do you make of this long title run so far?
I mean, like, I love it because he's a heel. He has the belt. He healed to keep it. So as long as he keeps doing that and selling out arenas, who are the boys really going to be mad? And then, hey, you always got somebody new to face. And whoever does beat them when they're ready and when the company's ready, that's your next guy.
Yeah.
So they have a great heel on top that's selling out, doing stories. You got your babyface that just lost. Maybe he'll get a title shot again, but like it keeps interest in people, and guaranteed, no matter who he faces next, it'll be a sellout because people want to see him lose, and that's a sign of a great heel.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. One of my friends, Daniel, asked me to ask you, what is your proudest moment in wrestling?
Proudest moment? Oh, I mean, we have moments we like when I won the tag belts finally with John at Mania. That was a moment that I was very proud of. But it's funny. I think for me, like, my moments of proudness are, I think, in showing people things they didn't think I was capable of doing, and that I know I'm capable of. So it could be as simple as, hey, I had that me and Roman had a tiny feud, and I started talking on the mic a little bit, and to me, I was proud of that work because people didn't expect it from me, but I expected it from myself. I did a small talking smack segment. There was like 5 minutes of talking. Nobody had ever heard me speak. If you go back and watch it, it's very emotional because I was given an opportunity to speak. And I'm proud of that little segment because it was me showing what I wanted a character to be. Whether or not it went anywhere, I don't care. I'm proud of it because I was giving a chance. I killed it the way I wanted to kill it, showed the bosses what I could do, and it was on them whether they wanted to use it or not. Those are the moments that make me proud, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, very well said. He had a little follow-up question. If the call come, would we ever see you back in the WWE?
They have to let me do my acting.
That was my next question. What are you up to now? But that kind of segues into it. I mean, wrestlers come back me and Adam say this all the time, the famous saying, never say never. But is it, and like you said earlier, they are more accommodating around schedules now, but you can kind of segue into that. Obviously, you're getting more involved in your acting now. Would we ever see you back in a WWE ring if the circumstance was right for you?
If the circumstances are right, absolutely. Because I do have unfinished business there. I mean, I felt like I was on a path to start showing people more of what I could do. That I was stuck with a weird story of a cage where they told me not to talk, and I did what they said because I'm not going to go off script. And what's that going to prove? You do your job. COVID happened. I have unfinished business. So do I still get an urge to be like, yeah, it'd be nice to lace it up against Drew or Sheamus or Gunther? Yeah, because like I know I can hang in there and give like those guys are giving. I was watching that match laughing my ass off because I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the physicality because I miss that sort of physicality in wrestling. I miss that believability. And not saying that everybody's stuff isn't believable, but you can hear and you can feel what those guys are going through in that ring. And you know what they went through because you can see it in their eyes. You can see it on their chest. They were hitting each other in safe spots. I didn't notice them having black eyes after their matches. So like, that's the kind of wrestling I enjoyed. And yeah, it gets a fire under you that, oh man, you still want to do it. So when you say, would you ever go back? Yeah, I'd go back if circumstances are right. Would I go back just because I want to go back? And for what? What's the reason? To me, it's the same everywhere. Why do you want me on your product? What are you going to have me do? Do I get to have a story? I want a story. I want a reason to be here. I don't want to be a guy that comes in 1 week and faces somebody and then just leaves. I want to have a story as to why I'm facing this guy.
Yeah, no,
I,
great. Yeah, it's true.
at,
Don't go
at,
to
the-
AEW then.
at this point, in my life, I'm like, the older I get, the harder it is to keep in shape, the harder it is to wrestle. I just did like a small 3-day tour in Canada, and it was like, yeah, after the second day, you're starting to like, okay, yeah, I start to feel like having, this is fun again. But like, just sitting back and, having other creative outlets is like, do I really want to? What's the point? And again, I don't want to be a guy that's why I take my, I have this interest in other things, but I also have this love for professional wrestling. And to me, it's like, I'm obviously going to keep up with wrestling. I'm still going to wrestle and do that, keep up with that. But I have other interests, and I'm not just going to sit and wait for something to maybe happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and pitch myself to people that probably will never listen to it. Like, here's why I should be, given this chance, because at the end of the day, that's not my choice to make.
Yeah.
It's these people that make these decisions. If they want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. There's no reason for me to pitch myself to anybody, especially, with the career I've had so far.
No, very well put. Matt, any questions before we get out of here, my friend?
No, I think literally everything I was going to go through sort of got covered in that one, really. So there was just so much relatability, though, which I really enjoyed. Like when you mention about the proudest moment and things like that, I really enjoyed listening to that one, because I get that quite a lot with darts with what I do. And a lot of the time, people think it's sort of that extrinsic motivation, the one that got you the biggest win or the biggest lights or the biggest money. And it's just great to hear someone else from another sport as well talking about that same thing, because some of my proudest moments come when you're playing in a little hall somewhere where there's not even a camera on the board, and you're in the little back room somewhere and no one even knows the game exists till the result pops up on the internet somewhere. So yeah, it's so cool just to hear those sort of stories and know that I'm not alone in that sort of thinking.
No, definitely. Ads?
No, I think we need to just do our shout outs to our partners quick before we head off. Obviously, Jurassic Pro Wrestling, we are attending on Sunday, the 9th. We're recording this on a Monday. So we are platinum partners of Jurassic Pro Wrestling. We will be there for their pay-per-view White Rabbit. One of our wrestlers that we sponsor, Corey McRae, is going to be there in a last man standing match. So we'll probably have a chat with him prior to that. I don't think we need to talk to him after that. We might need to give him a bit of time to heal up. Pro Wrestling Carnage in Wales just come off their show at the weekend. They've got another one now in May called, I think it's Lord of the Ring or something they're doing. I've just got a notification from that. And of course, Andy, you can do the Ignite because this is your baby.
Yeah, we are sponsoring Buckle Up. It's going to be a wrestling event coming up this we're kind of in the summer. Ignite Wrestling Pro and ourselves have teamed up. We're having our own pay-per-view. It's called Buckle Up. It's going to be a great event. I urge everyone to come down. Keep an eye on our socials at HCT Buckle for more information on that coming out soon. But Eric, just before we finish up, my friend, tell our listeners where they can find you. Yeah, what are you up to now? Acting.
Yes, doing a bit of acting. You can always catch up with what I have once it's been released, usually through imbd.com. It'll tell you, just type in Joseph Rude or Eric Rowan, Eric Redbeard. It usually pops up. You can check out a film I did called Ghost of the Ozarks. It's available now either on Amazon streaming or Tubi. If you have Paramount Plus, you can check out me in the first season of Mayor of Kingstown, starring Jeremy Renner. There's a short I just finished on YouTube. Just type in Tito. Claudio Castagnoli is also in that. Cesaro, people may know him as.
Yeah.
In his acting debut, which I thought he did wonderful in that. That is called Tito. It is just type in Tito short film on YouTube and you'll be able to find it. It's getting some buzz and awards on the short festival circuit. Anthony Notarelli was the writer-director of that, and I thought he did great. And the lead actor is also great in that film. So check it out if you got time. Check me out on social medias at Eric Redbeard, either on Twitter or Instagram. other than that, anybody in the States can see me this weekend at Squared Circle Expo convention on Saturday in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Tremendous. Eric, thank you so much for taking the time out to come on our podcast. I know you are a very busy man. We've admired your career. Keep doing what you're doing, my friend. I wish you all the luck with the acting. I personally hope I see you back in a WWE ring one day. There is unfinished business there, my friend. So we wish you every success and good luck with everything, mate.
Thank you.
No worries. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Adam Cousins. Till next time, everybody, stay safe.